Unit 5, Macronutrients. In the next few units, we're going to be talking about the different components of diet. Macronutrients, including carbohydrates, lipids, which are fats, and protein. Micronutrients, which include vitamins, minerals, and trace minerals. Also water. In this unit, we'll focus on macronutrients. I think that we Americans are confused about the three major nutrient groups: carbohydrates, lipids, and protein. Let me take a few moments to discuss the functions of each in our bodies. Let's compare our bodies to a car, for example. Carbohydrates are like gasoline for fuel. Lipids are like oil for lubrication and insulation. And protein is like structural materials, like metal. Do our cars use metal or oil for fuel? No. Do they use gas for structural components? I don't think so. Of course, this is an oversimplification. Each nutrient has more roles than listed above. A big difference between our bodies and a car is that we can convert both lipids and protein into fuel, if needed, but it's at a cost. Dietary carbohydrates get broken down into glucose, which is carried in our bloodstream to the cells to use in their little factories called mitochondria to power all of our body functions. In fact, our nervous tissue, especially our brains, can only use glucose for energy. Any excess carbohydrates we consume will be stored as adipose tissue, another word for fat. Dietary lipids get broken down into fatty acids and carried through special vessels called lacteals to our liver to be used for making cell walls, coverings on nerves, insulation tissue around organs, and joints. Skeletal muscles can use fatty acids when at rest or during low-intensity aerobic activity. Excess lipids will be stored in adipose tissue, fat. Dietary proteins get broken down into amino acids and carried to our bloodstream, to the liver, and our cells, where they're stored in an amino acid pool. Many of the amino acids in the pool are actually from recycled tissues in our bodies. Only those amino acids that we cannot recycle enough of are considered to be essential to get from dietary sources. When our cell needs a specific amino acid to make a protein structure, either for tissue, immune cells, or blood elements, it is taken out of this pool. Any excess amino acids above our needs will be stored as, you guessed it, adipose tissue. In times of too little carbohydrate consumption, our liver can actually change some amino acids and some fatty acids into glucose. Great, right? It is. It allows us to adapt to many different food sources. However, with the conversion of non-carbohydrates into glucose, there are byproducts produced which can have a negative impact on our bodies. So glucose made directly from carbohydrates is the perfect fuel for our bodies. As you can see here, most foods have a combination of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Ideally, the human diet should be comprised of just enough carbohydrates to meet our energy needs, just enough lipids to meet our lubrication insulation needs, and just enough protein to meet our structural needs. In each person, this will be different due to genetics, age, gender, and activity level. That is why each nutrient is recommended in a range. This can be confusing at first glance, but let's think about this. So a toddler with up to 1,400 calorie intake, for example, could reasonably eat between 630 to 910 calories as carbohydrates, 500 to 700 calories as fat, and 100 to 490 calories as protein. A 21-year-old male with a daily intake of about 3,000 calories a day may eat from 1,350 to 1,950 calories as carbohydrates, 600 calories as fat, and 300 to 1,050 as protein. And a 35-year-old female who is sedentary, who should be eating around 1,800 calories per day, should have between 810 to 1,170 calories as carbohydrates, 360 as fat, and between 180 and 630 calories as protein. What determines where on this range? Well, to an extent genetics, but primarily activity level. If you're that woman who sits most of the day, eating more than 10% protein will not give you more muscle. It will just either be wasted or stored as fat. Are you surprised? In conclusion, obviously this is just touching the surface of the topic. Eat the right type of food in the right amounts. Figure out what is right for you. Be honest. If you sit on your bum all day, you do not need much protein. 10% will easily meet all of your needs. If you are a 16-year-old boy going through a huge growth spurt, you'll want to eat more protein and everything else. Lastly, I'd like to point out the fiber worksheet. Fill it out for your own information. You do not need to submit it to me. Okay, that's it. Bye now.